The sunset's golden rays shine upon two joyous figures. The sunlight cannot hide the beaming face of the woman looking up at the taller figure, who is a head taller than her. She waves her hands and proudly exclaims, "Father, my soul-purging palm technique has reached a new level today." The one called father had eyes curved in a smile and a slight grin on his lips, nodding, "Good." Suddenly, everything went dark, and fragmented memories were engulfed in a sea of flames. I thought I was the happiest person in the world, but this happiness was taken away in just one night. Her revered father stood in front of the flames, turned back to look at her, his eyes resolute, "Go quickly." The celestial realm was destroyed, and all beings suffered. Why? Why did these people pursue and exterminate us? I am filled with hatred. I must live, I must make those who ruined my life pay, and blood debts must be paid with blood. At that moment, with her vows, a series of thunderbolts struck the mountain below. "Here is C1.The kingdom." A fierce voice full of discontent echoed, "Humph, how unlucky. I haven't done anything, and he's already committed suicide." The butcher next to him worriedly said, "Big brother, that person told us to rape first and then deal with her. What should we do now?" Behind the two butchers appeared a tiny figure, covered in wounds, no longer moving. But just a second after the two left, she suddenly opened her eyes and sprang up. As a habit, many questions immediately surfaced in her mind. Where is this place? Why am I here? Who are they? She doubtfully covered her body with one hand, looking at her own hand, her eyes flashing with surprise. "This is not my body." The next moment, a buzzing sound rang in her head, and she clutched her head in pain. "My head hurts." She was groggy, the memories of the previous owner of this body like a heavy slap, accompanied by a disdainful voice. "Dao-Tin-Shui, this wretched girl, so ugly yet dares to seduce the third prince." The person speaking, dressed in red, was Dao-Tin-Yun. Beside her was another person dressed in blue, covering their nose, with eyes full of disgust. "This ugly thing, get out of here quickly." The person called Dao-Tin-Shui had been beaten until her face was disfigured, her weak body sprawled on the ground. Wan Thian-Dan, with worried eyes, hurriedly came to support her and whispered, "Tin-Shui, mother is here. Don't be afraid." A fragment of memory flashed through her mind, leaving only the name Dao-Tin-Shui. She frowned. "Dao-Tin-Shui, you are also a pitiful person." She struggled to stand up with her body full of wounds, her eyes resolute. "If that's the case, from now on, let the eternal empress be Dao-Tin-Shui, and make those who bully and humiliate us pay with blood." At this point, you might have guessed that this woman is the main character. With her celestial identity, it is predicted that in the future, the eternal empress under the name Dao-Tin-Shui will change an entire dynasty. On the side, the two butchers were still regretful, discussing. One with a long scar on his face, looking terrifying, spoke, "What a pity. Although her face is somewhat ugly, her body is truly exquisite." He smirked, spitting out the most disgusting words. "How about we take advantage of her still warm body and have some fun?" At this point, the subordinate's face changed color, pointing behind him and stammering, Big brother, behind you." As he turned his head, "Huh? What?" Before he could grasp the situation, a small hand aimed straight for his throat. There was a cracking sound, his eyes rolled back, blood flowed from his orifices, and he died. Having dealt with the difficult one, Dao-Tin-Shui casually threw him aside, her gaze as sharp as a knife on the remaining butcher. The scene just now had terrified him, his eyes wide open, mouth agape, shouting, "Ghost! Save me!" But after just a few steps, she grabbed his collar and threw him several meters away. Trembling instinctively, he stammered, Don't kill me. Blame lies with the leader, Dao-Tin-Yun, who ordered us to do this, you." Before he could finish, a cracking sound rang out, and moments later, he too met his end. Suddenly, a mocking voice came from afar. "Ha, how interesting." Dao-Tin-Shui cast a wary glance around. "Who?" A man dressed in light blue attire, with fabric that didn't seem ordinary, was riding a white horse. He was assessing her with his clear blue eyes. A first-grade martial artist who hasn't yet reached the level can still kill two third-grade martial artists? Unsure whether the person was friend or foe, she hesitated for a moment and approached him. The man in brown attire gave a forced smile. "I originally intended to see the hero saving the damsel in distress, but unfortunately, she didn't give the chance." The man in blue, showing no interest, coldly closed his eyes and said, "Let's go." As she watched the figure disappear, Dao-Tin-Shui began to regain her composure. This man's intentions are difficult to predict, but fortunately, he didn't search for faults. In this world where martial arts are paramount, I must quickly improve my cultivation. In no time, the sky had turned dark. The back door of Dao Manor echoed with incessant cursing and loud clashes. "Get out. Don't you know your place, wanting the divine doctor to treat you?" It turned out to be a wicked old woman bullying Dao Tinshue's mother. The son, seeing his mother being bullied for trying to save him, couldn't hold back and advised, "Mother, I'm fine, I don't need a doctor, let's just go home." Despite the pain, Wan Dan remained steadfast, "No. I won't go home. Your father is still gravely ill in bed, I can't lose another son. I'm going to beg Dao Hung, your uncle, he will surely help us for the sake of your father." At this moment, the manor's door opened, and she quickly pleaded, Ten Yun, Auntie is begging you to let us see the divine doctor, please." An elderly woman, weak and frail, was kneeling and clutching the hem of her dress, begging for help. Such a scene would move anyone, yet Dao Yun showed no compassion. She turned to the wicked old woman and yelled, "What kind of work are you doing? Don't you know to throw them further away?" The old woman, scared, lowered her head, "I'm sorry, young mistress, I'll do it right away." As soon as she finished speaking, she pounced towards Wan Dan, despite her screaming, "Let me go! Ten Yun! Suddenly, a powerful force came from behind, sending the wicked old woman flying several meters away. Dao Yun was shocked by the scene. She turned her head and saw it was Dao Tinshue, radiating murderous intent, glaring at her. Dao Yun's face turned pale. "You stupid girl, Dao Tinshue, you're still alive." Tinshue didn't bother to argue with her, turning to support her brother and mother, "Brother, let's go home." As the three of them passed by Dao Yun, she didn't forget to cast a murderous aura on Yun, causing Yun to break out in a cold sweat, puzzled, how can this be, did those two not kill her? At this moment, the old woman next to her crawled up, "Young mistress, this lowly woman caught me off guard." Yun gritted her teeth, taking out her anger on the old woman, "Useless. You can't even deal with a fool, and you still dare to speak." In her heart, she cursed, "Dao Tinshue, you escaped today, but you won't escape tomorrow. I won't let this go, just you wait." That night at Bayoni, in Wan Dan's bedroom, she gently brought a bowl of medicine to her mother's bed. "Mother, drink the medicine. Fortunately, the injury is not severe, a few days of rest will heal it." Her mother raised her hand to refuse, frowning slightly as she questioned, "Wait a moment, Tinshue, what are the injuries on your body?" She placed the bowl of medicine on the table, pondering, thinking it would be good for her mother and brother to be on guard. She pressed her lips together and reluctantly said, "Dao Yun sent people to kill me." Hearing this, Dao Tuanyang stood up angrily, "What? This is too much. I must go seek revenge." But before he could go far, Wan Dan called him back, "Stop. Listen to your sister first. Besides, if you go now, how will you deal with them?" Hearing his mother's reasoning, he reluctantly punched the door frame in frustration. "It's all my fault. If it weren't for my eyes getting injured while sparring with Dao Wanben, my sister wouldn't be bullied like this." Dao Tinshue, hearing the name, immediately felt irritated. "It's always the Dao Yun family." She reassured him, "Don't be anxious, brother. Didn't I return here safely? The people Dao Yun sent have already been dealt with. Sooner or later, I'll exact revenge." Hearing her mention that, Wan Dan became curious. "Tinshue, you still haven't said how you managed to defeat that old woman today. What kind of martial arts do you practice?" As if hitting a sore spot, Tinshue was momentarily at a loss for an explanation. "Oh dear, this is troublesome. I can't just say I'm not really her daughter and that I'm actually an imposter who transmigrated here," she thought. After pondering for a moment, she came up with a plausible excuse. "Actually, I didn't want to cause trouble for everyone, so I pretended to be foolish. Over the past few years, I've been secretly training on Thiansu Mountain, and my skills have improved." Her mother suddenly fell silent, just looking at her. Tinshue began to feel uneasy. Oh no, does that expression mean she believes me or not? Unexpectedly, Wan Dan laughed, gently touching the tip of her nose. "You sly girl, you're quite good at hiding." She smiled to herself, got through. After finishing the conversation, she gently covered her mother with the blanket and instructed her, "You should rest first, I'll go visit father." Her mother smiled and nodded. "All right, Tuanyang is still here. You go ahead." After leaving, she headed towards the room of Dao Veen, her father. She opened the door and stepped inside. Behind the curtain was a middle-aged man, his face contorted in pain, lying on the bed. Tinshue carefully sat beside the bed. Earlier, she had secretly checked the pulse of her mother and brother, discovering they had both been poisoned. Could her father be as well? She reached out to check Dao Veen's pulse, her eyes widening in shock. This isn't just poisoning. His meridians are severed, his internal organs are damaged, his dantian is shattered, and his head has been severely injured. Who could have done this? In this world, a martial artist is the lowest rank. Above that are 5 other ranks: Martial Master, Martial King, Martial Ancestor, Martial Emperor, and Martial Sovereign. Each rank is divided into 9 smaller levels, from 1st grade to 9th grade. Her mother was once an 8th grade martial artist, but now she has lost all her power. Her brother's body has been deteriorating since Dao Wanben injured his eyes, clearly due to poisoning. Even her own body was disfigured by poison, preventing her from advancing beyond 1st grade martial artist. It seems the person behind the poisoning intends to wipe out the entire family. Just the thought of this sent chills down her spine. I don't dare imagine what crueler acts they might commit beyond this dirty poison. Tin Shui gently stroked her father's hand. Don't worry. In my previous life, I couldn't protect my emperor father. In this life, I will definitely protect the Dao family. The next morning, outside in the courtyard of Bayonne, the Dao family's residence, the door was violently kicked open with a loud bang. It turned out to be Dao Tenyun, leading a group of followers, coming to cause trouble. Dao Tin Shui, get out here. Wan Thiandan, inside, heard her voice and sensed trouble. She hurried outside. Tenyun, what do you want? Dao Tenyun arrogantly looked up at the sky. How disrespectful. Aunt, you saw it yesterday. I can't just let her get away with hitting me. She needs to be taught a lesson. With that, she brushed past Wan Thiandan and added threateningly, since you can't discipline your daughter, I'll do it for you. Tenyun turned and ordered her followers to rush inside. Go, drag that wench out here for me. They all responded in unison, yes, ma'am. One of them restrained Wan Thiandan to prevent her from intervening. How dare you? Unexpectedly, before they could enter, Dao Tin Shui was already standing in front. Who's that mad dog barking so early in the morning? Oh, it's just a bunch of pests kicking down doors. Tired of living, are we? Provoked by the taunting words, Tenyun couldn't swallow her anger. She gritted her teeth and shouted, what are you standing around for? Get her. Dao Tin Shui smirked. Oh, how reckless. She kicked a few times, and a dozen people fell to the ground, clutching their stomachs or heads. Seeing this, Tenyun's fury intensified. You're the one who's reckless. Dao Tin Shui, watch this. Seeing her approaching her daughter with murderous intent, Wan Thiandan shouted in alarm, Tin Shui, run. She's a 4th-rank martial artist now, you can't defeat her. Run. Although he couldn't see, Dao Tuan Yang's ears caught everything. Hearing his mother's words, he couldn't stay put and rushed forward to help his sister. But he was a step too late. Tenyun leapt into the air, channeling all her strength into her hand for a decisive strike. Unexpectedly, Tin Shui wasn't afraid. Her eyes sparkled with defiance. You think you can beat me? In the next second, she vanished without a trace. What? She's gone? Before Tenyun could figure out Tin Shui's position, she was hit with a powerful kick in the stomach, sending her crashing to the ground, even spitting blood. Though her body couldn't move, her mouth was still active, cursing, you bitch, how dare you ambush me? But before she could continue, Tin Shui's overwhelming presence stifled her. Dao Tenyun, since you've come to my door, let's settle the old scores. This oppressive aura was no joke, suddenly making it impossible for Tenyun to resist. Fear welled up inside her. What are you planning to do? I'm warning you, my mother won't let this slide. Before she could finish her sentence, she received a resounding slap from Tin Shui. This slap is for bullying my mother and brother. And this one is for bribing people to assault and kill me, trying to ruin my reputation. This slap is for the years of verbal abuse you've hurled at me. And this one is for your constant, unrepentant harassment. Finally, this slap is for your shameless audacity and lawless behavior. With each sentence, Tin Shui put her full force into each strike across Tenyun's face. After a while, Tenyun's face was swollen like a pig's, and it was only when Tin Shui's hand grew tired that she stopped. Before turning to leave, Tin Shui lowered her voice, take your martial artists and master and get out of my house. Her gaze was as sharp as a knife, intimidating anyone who saw it. Without hesitation, 2 servants quickly carried their master and left the premises. Tuan Yang, having witnessed everything, couldn't help but admire her. Since when did my sister become so powerful? That was a fantastic beating. Dao Tin Shui, hands on her hips, began to boast, brother, your sister is even more powerful than that. But their mother did not share the same sentiment. As soon as the confrontation ended, she hurriedly rushed inside to pack their belongings. Tin Shui, you injured Tenyun this time. Your second uncle will definitely not let this go. I've packed your things. Run, and don't let anyone see you. Go as far as you can and don't come back. Dao Tin Shui patted her mother reassuringly. Mother, don't worry too much. I'll be fine. You should rest in your room and take care of yourself. After returning to her room, she looked at her reflection in the mirror and couldn't help but touch her face a few times. Ah, the scar is fading. Could fighting just now actually be a way to detoxify? She examined her face from different angles, realizing that it increasingly resembled her old self. Not only that, but there was also a power within her that she couldn't control. I don't know what's happening, but next time, I need to get stronger quickly before Dao Tenyun comes to cause trouble. Meanwhile, in Dao Tianheng's residence, in the room of Ouyang Qij, a high-ranking official was enjoying his breakfast when he heard the distressed voice of a maid from Dao Tenyun's side. "Madam, it's bad news. The young lady has been injured by Dao Tin Shui." She stood up abruptly. "What did you say?" She quickly made her way to her daughter's room. Upon entering, she saw the doctor treating Dao Tenyun. Ouyang Qij asked anxiously, "Doctor, how is my daughter?" The elderly doctor replied reluctantly, "The young lady has 2 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and a swollen face. She also has multiple abrasions. I can treat her injuries, but it will take up to 2 months to fully heal. However, if we had a Thung Dan healing pill, she would recover completely in just 3 days." Ouyang Qij frowned. "All right, I will find a way to get the Thung Dan pill. Han Ni, take the doctor to prepare the medicine." The maid bowed. "Yes, madam." Having understood the situation, Ouyang Qij turned and ordered, "Summon the masters to meet me at Bayonne. I will definitely skin that wench alive." Meanwhile, back at Bayonne, in the courtyard of Dao Tin Shui's house, everyone was gathered preparing food. She was helping her mother. "Mother, I want to eat the mung bean cakes you make tonight." They had barely settled down when trouble struck again. From the entrance came a loud voice, "It seems lively here today." Ouyang Qij entered with a fierce aura, clearly intending to cause trouble. "Like mother, like daughter. Wan Thian Dan, tell your wretched daughter to come out here." Knowing the reason for her visit, Wan Thian Dan instinctively shielded Tin Shui and tried to reason. "Ouyang Qij, it was Tenyun who attacked first. Don't be unreasonable." Ouyang Qij sneered disdainfully. "Ha! What a sharp tongue. You call me unreasonable? Wasn't it your daughter who hit someone? But fine, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower ones will go crooked. Today, I'll teach her a proper lesson for you." Hearing such bold words only piqued the young girl's curiosity. Dao Tin Shui stepped forward with a mysterious smile. "Second aunt, such a grand spectacle. Do you really need so many 4th-rank martial experts for a small girl like me? Are you afraid you can't defeat me on your own?" Her words struck a nerve. Although Ouyang Qij didn't show it outwardly, her eyebrows furrowed. She retorted, still trying to save face, "I don't need to dirty my hands dealing with you." With that, she ordered, "What are you waiting for? Kill her." At her command, the group of experts charged towards Tin Shui. She sneered, "If that's the case, I can't let second aunt's intentions go to waste. A bit of practice with these people won't be bad." In a flash, Tin Shui had taken down the entire group of large-built experts. She cast a meaningful glance at Ouyang Qij and said, "Second aunt, how did I do?" Tuan Yang, hearing none of it, had already positioned himself in front of Tin Shui. "Don't even think about it. Ouyang Qij, if you want something, take it out on me. Don't harm my sister." But to Ouyang Qij, his words carried no weight. With a mere flick of her hand, she sent him flying several meters away. "Get lost, and stop this brother-sister act in front of me." Seeing her brother being bullied, Tin Shui gritted her teeth and glared at Ouyang Qij. "I will kill you." Before she could unleash her move, Ouyang Qij easily grabbed her by the neck, tightening her grip gradually. "Ha, you're seeking your own death." In that critical moment, with her life hanging by a thread, Tin Shui thought to herself, "Am I really going to be defeated like this? I refuse to accept it." It seemed that this intense will activated something within her. She felt a familiar surge of power welling up inside her. Astonished, she realized, this is the soul purging palm technique, my martial skill from my past life. I can't believe it still exists within me. The situation immediately changed. A golden light emanated from around her, enveloping Ouyang Qij, as Tin Shui absorbed all of her strength. "What's happening? My power is disappearing. This isn't right, there's something off about this girl," Yang Qij thought, stunned. Realizing the danger, Ouyang Qij tried to retreat, but Tin Shui was quicker. She grabbed Ouyang Qij's wrist and pulled her back, while her other hand clamped down on her throat, emitting a cracking sound. Yang Qij could only whisper, "Help me." Moments later, her eyes rolled back, her hair turned white, and she collapsed unconscious on the spot. Due to releasing a vast amount of energy in a short period, Tin Shui's mortal body couldn't withstand it and she collapsed, unconscious.